Hey guys, I've got something truly unique for you this week. I don't think that there's probably any other RVs, and if there are, I haven't seen them. So stay tuned, this is really cool. So the mod that I have for you this week has to do with this. Cans, bottles, junk, stuff that really should be recycled, but living in an RV, living in campgrounds, it's really difficult to do. So what I'm going to try to do is prevent waste. Now to get this project started, I need to do some plumbing. What you see here is me just making sure that I have space to put in a couple elbows. The black pipe that goes across is the drain for the kitchen sink. And so I'm trimming that out, and I'm going to move that pipe back towards those two PEX pipes, the back side of the island. So here is the opposite end of the pipe, right above where it goes into the gray tank. I'm using a ratchet style cutter to cut the existing ABS plastic. I've got a new piece of ABS here that I'm cutting a couple of couplers out of so that I can join the elbows very close together. I use the OD cleaner and also the cement. I had trouble getting it open, so I used a channel lock to break it open. Strangely enough, they actually have a tool specifically for that, but I don't think it's worth it. Channel locks work just fine. And when you're securing the ABS plastic, what you want to do is first use the cleaner and clean off any dirt, grime, debris. Gets the plastic ready for a nice solid weld, basically. There's those channel locks again. So you use a generous coat on both the female side and the male side, push it in and try to give it a quarter turn. Quarter turn, make sure that everything is spread out nice and even, and it prevents any leaks. So there's one of my pieces that's going to connect from the down pipe there to make the turn to the back of the wall. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other side to bring it back up to the position of the existing gray tank pipe. So again, using those same cutters, just cutting a small coupler out of it. And again, same process, just using the cleaner first on all the edges. Those pipes are really dirty from sitting in the Home Depot too long, I guess. So now I've got all the pieces cleaned, and I'm using the cement now and making that turn. I've got a nice little S-curve, and that'll go from the back wall back up to the pipe. Now, same process. Once again, cleaner on the existing pipe, cleaner on the inside of the S-curve. And what I'm doing here is the plastic that was for the initial piping was really thin walled, thinner than I've ever seen. Must be something to do with it being an RV. So I had to kind of bring it back into round. It was still the same outside diameter as your standard ABS pipe, so I felt comfortable still using it. But yeah, just had to kind of get it back into round so I could get the piece on. I'm just checking right now to make sure that I'm going to have enough space to be able to get the longest piece of that pipe bridge in before I cement things in. And here, we're in routine behavior. Clean it, glue it, put it in place. Luckily I had enough play in the existing pipe work because of the hole on that shelf there that allowed me to be able to do all the connections in the order that I wanted to do it, rather than something that was a little less I'm just kind of checking the fit there, checking the length, making sure that I've got everything that I need to span that distance. And as you can see, I'm trimming off a little bit. Guess I mismeasured because of all of that additional play that I had. We've got both ends of that cleaned and both ends of the S-curves cleaned. And I just noticed that I didn't glue the insides of the S-curve there. So to recap, this is the existing pipe. That was the thin wall piece that my fingernails are pointing at right now. And then I've gone ahead and added an S-curve to get towards the back, a little coupler, and then another 90-degree curve to make it parallel with the back wall of the island. And approximately 15-inch piece. My hand's about where the original pipe was, so I've got a little extra clearance in there for why I'm doing this project. And then of course going back down the S-curves so that I can get onto the existing drain pipe. So pretty simple. Now I'm turning my attention to the existing plumbing that's connected to the sink because I want to get some clearance. That cross beam is causing clearance issues, so I need to restructure everything having to do with the top end of the drain as well. The reason I didn't pull out everything all at once was because there's an air admittance valve on the vertical part of the drain pipe, and if I were to take that out, the sinks wouldn't drain as cleanly and as efficiently, and I would potentially have a vacuum situation where the water would get sucked out of the P-traps. So I wanted to keep that air admittance valve where it was. So here I am putting in the first P-trap. So it's a double basin sink, obviously. So that's the first P-trap, and now I'm cutting off some of the existing piping. Again, it's that thin wall stuff. You can see it compress on the left-hand side of the video there. And here we are securing the second part of the P-trap, or the second P-trap. Now I'm getting ready to actually start creating the piping that connects the two. And really quickly, I put a 90-degree elbow on the back of that, and you can barely see it in the shadows. Sorry, the lighting's not so good. And on this one, instead of just an elbow, I put a sanitary tee in place, and so that's going to kind of direct the water from the left-hand one towards the left as well. And then I cut a piece to connect the sanitary tee to the elbow. Whoops, little drop. And securing everything together. Now the cross pipe is much further back, which gives me all the clearance that I was looking for. I'm able to snug these up so the cross beam I do have at a generous slope once everything's sealed and put together. Wow, I just did that. It's almost like a repeat. Actually, the difference here is at the end now, at the end of that sanitary tee, I added a coupler because it was a street tee, so that's the female side, and so I had to put a coupler so that I could put a pipe between that and this vertical piece. Got my turn. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue up the piece that I just put into the rest of the cross pipe. Go in, give it a turn, and now once I snug everything up, we're going to have a sealed system again. I think rerouting the plumbing was probably the most challenging part of the whole project. I think it turned out well. It gives me a little bit more space on the shelf, and also gives me all the space that I need. And here we are, just taking a look at the different P-traps, the downpipe, and then back across over all the work that I did. So gives a lot more horizontal space. So now I removed the faucet from the countertop and realized that hole in the middle was not big enough for the new faucet that I purchased, which that was so frustrating. And I didn't have a hole saw, so I had to go borrow one. But what I did was I used the hole saw to drill a template into this piece of lumber, and then you'll see I go ahead and tighten these down, and I take a screwdriver underneath with me to get things snug so that board doesn't move. And then that way that hole that I have in the big hole is 1.25 inches that's big enough for the new faucet that we're putting in. I'm using that kind of as a jig, and that keeps the drill from walking. And I test fit the new faucet, and it went down all the way, so good there. Now I also realized that I was going to have to do the same thing for the soap dispenser. I didn't show that part, but here I am getting that soap dispenser installed, and you can see the last hole is significantly smaller than the others. I think it's about 1/7 of an inch. And once I placed the faucet in place, I had to cut off the existing PEX ends because they were 1/2 inch connections, and the new faucet only had 3/8 inch. And I decided having a set of turn-offs, shut-offs right here would be nice. So I have 1/2 PEX to 3/8 compression that I'm going to go ahead and crimp on. The tool that I showed there momentarily with the blue handle, you'll see it again here in a moment. It's an expensive tool, but it's the only thing that will properly crimp these hoses or these clamps onto the PEX pipes. These create a ton of pressure onto the barbed ends of those, and you couldn't replicate that with just standard pipe clamps. You got to have the tool. Luckily, I had it from before we moved into an RV. The house that we lived in had a lot of PEX in it, so I had the tool, and so I just kept it, knowing that I was going to be dealing with PEX anytime I did any plumbing. To go ahead and connect up the hoses, hot and cold respectively, and then that is, probably want to tighten those down before we before we go crazy and forget about it. So tighten those down with a wrench, and there we go. We have water. It's amazing. So this is the part we've all been waiting for. This is the reason for the whole project. So I wanted to have a tap. We do drink a lot of carbonated beverages, and I figured it'd be better, since I had the equipment laying around from making beer, to go ahead and install the faucet. That's a 14-inch tall faucet, and here you can see me connecting up the hose and trying to tighten it down. So we're just going to use room temperature water, and it's just going to be carbonated water, and we'll be able to make You know, sometimes we just want something fizzy, so plain water is great. And otherwise,
What? Is that carbonated? Is that carbonated? That's so cool.
that is cool. And here you can see just kind of the layout of how I have the keg and the CO2. That's a 5-pound tank and a 5-gallon keg. And see the hoses run down. I have a coil because the high pressure needs additional line so that it doesn't just go squirting everywhere. And finally back up to